Greetings to you all. Greetings to you all that are looking at this beautiful and graceful day in the third day of the month of January. Greetings to you all once again, to my Moorish brothers and sisters, to those who are looking. This is Dr. Matthews-Bey on the Dr. Matthews-Bey Show, Islam to you, my Moorish brothers and sisters, and greetings to you that are looking at the Dr. Matthews-Bey Show from the corporations around the world. Let me give you my 30 seconds, before I start the show. Okay, as I'm back, I would like for you to share the live. As you come in, please do share the live. As we begin this new dimension, as we're supposedly supposed to start a couple of days ago, to those who are looking would know that I don't normally celebrate all these pagan different make-believes and illusions. But my shows will be normally fixed upon three things: the liberation of the Aboriginal man, that means a melanated man like myself, the liberation of one's soul from slavery within the corporations, and a full representation of the people that I am expected to represent and to lead. My expectation is to do so with all my full will, might, and resource to sacrifice for the liberation of my people. Before I start the show, I want to say some things that I think it's quite valuable to you that who are looking. Before anyone who's looking starts a conversation or starts the day, please make sure before you begin to speak to anyone, we comprehend the etymology of the words we are intended to use in our day-to-day conversations with others. We need to comprehend that, one. Number two, we must comprehend that the laws that are governing you in the corporations, you must be fully aware of them. Because when you're not fully aware of the laws that are governing you in these corporations, they tend to use these same laws against you. And because you're not knowledgeable of the fact, you become a more oppressed person and suppressed by the prison system of these corporations around the world. And when I mean corporations, I mean the colonized countries that you're living in, or colonizers that you're living by their laws. I don't like to say the word white because they're not white. I mostly would like to use them as Caucasians because that's the name that they were given. But they are more or less colonizers, and we need to let them know that. But before I divulge myself more on that topic, let me start. This evening's topic is based upon three things: the fight for freedom, the fight for equality, and the fight for the poor. But we're going to use the poor for last because I need to let you comprehend the magnitude of poverty that you may be looking at. The Corporation of Guyana is a place where all manner of things happening, and a people become voiceless because of these manner of things. And because they think they can't do anything, because they're being bullied by an administration that is known for terrorists, attributes, and apartheid system that they created to not only oppress but enslave the populists. I want to point out a few things, and I want you to comprehend what I'm saying. We have some house slaves within the Corporation of Guyana that are in government that represents a regime that is oppressive and practices an apartheid system among the citizens of the Corporation of Guyana. And they are saying that there's no such thing as racism that is going on in the Corporation of Guyana. There's no apartheid system. They don't know what you're talking about. And then we have Ear Fraud Ali, who goes about to tell people all sorts of things that have been created by a regime that he may represent or he maybe thinks he's the head of. I want all those who are looking, all these persons who are looking at this very much program this evening, to ask yourself most fundamental questions. I'm really looking for you to ask yourself the fundamental questions and see what makes sense. You say you don't practice racism. There's no form of bigotry that's going on in your government. And you putting out things to say, well, you issued 5,000 house lots. You created a payment scheme so people can benefit from the oil revenue. I don't know if it's $30,000 that you're talking about or the $25,000. And that you've raised public servant salaries and all these things that you pointed out. But here was the thing. As you claim that you're doing so much good for the people of African origins, or the black people maybe you are talking about, why is there so much emphasis on preventing the same black people that you're talking about? Why is there so much emphasis on preventing them from benefiting from a free and fair elections? Why is there so much emphasis? And let me get down to the points of emphasis. You lock up their leaders, persons who you think you know that are going to represent them. You harass them, you lock them up. If they're not locked up and if they're not harassed, they're dead. They're being murdered in the streets. And I think you know I don't hesitate to say things that are the facts. You lock their leaders up, you harass them, you place them before the court, you humiliate them. As a matter of fact, you try to do all these things They're accustomed to it. But you know that these people represent the kind of people that you're claiming to not being racist to or towards. So here was the thing. Why are you so afraid? If you're not afraid, well, then you wouldn't touch their leaders. You wouldn't try to harass their leaders. An apartheid system harasses their political opponents. That's what an apartheid system. I am not Mr. Norton who would try to bring some diplomatic emphasis to the word apartheid or apartheid or however you want to pronounce it. I'm direct. When you harass political leaders or opponents, you put them in lockups, you put them in jail, you put them before the court, that's harassment. That's a form of apartheid or apartheid, especially when you know that you don't have any evidence towards this form of action. When you harass the leaders and the elders of the same black communities or Afro communities that you claim that they are Guyanese, it is because you're practicing an apartheid system, an apartheid regime, and your actions are there of apartheid or apartheid. That is your intentions. When you do these things, it is what you call an apartheid. Or you want me to put it a little bit more simpler? It's what you call a dictatorship. So I don't know which one you can choose to pick. Maybe both represents you in a kind of a way. Okay. So we're going to put that aside a bit. Lesson number 2. Okay, you say and you put your house slaves to say that there's no racism going on. There's no this, there's no that. But this is the question. Those same house slaves are not enjoying the benefits you're enjoying, although you employ them to represent you. We're seeing it. You're driving around in $40, $50 million vehicles. They're using the state property. They don't own the kind of things that you own. Automatically, you don't want to put them in that position to own those things either. So you've been feeding them crumbs off the table. And they're making a lot of noise. So we don't try to digest the crumbs from that table. So the same way you treat the black or Afro-Guyanese or communities, the same way you treat your house slaves. And maybe they can't see it. Maybe they think, a 1 million, 2 million every month seems good. It's nice. Whilst you're enjoying 200-300 million, you see the difference? You're not giving them the same kind of equality that you're giving yourselves. I wonder, how can a man by the name of Juan Egil or Mr. Cummins, whichever is his real name, he can choose whichever one he wants to call himself. Maybe the one before he before he was incarcerated, or one after, can come out and say that there's no racism when he himself is not enjoying the benefits of the top 4. He himself is not enjoying that benefit. He himself is not enjoying what Mr. Airfraud is enjoying, Mr. Barrett is enjoying, Nandalal is enjoying, No Guilty Sherry. He's not enjoying those things. So he himself is in a class. That's what makes them slaves. You see, I had to differentiate, or how should I put it over? I had to find the etymon of the word servant and explain to my friend. Being a servant means that you're a slave. That's the etymon of the word. Servant derived from slave, the word slave, and slave derived from the word servant. It's the same thing. It categorizes in which area you're a servant or you're a slave in. So they don't want to use the word directly slave, so they say public servant. You become a public slave. But it is in which category you find yourself in. But when I use the word slave as a differentiation, as a definition, it's towards racism. So you practice racism towards the people that you oppress. You suppress your theologies and the ideologies on a people that is already oppressed. So you're trying to enslave them. And so is the people that work under you. So the mere fact is that we all know your oppression and we all know how much you suppress your ideologies to oppress the people more. We all know that. We see that. We know when you come around and you walk with your voucher or your money and you say, look, 20,000, look, 100,000, look, 100,000 is too much. And then when you don't give us that 50,000, 25,000, the African community, you go on over to your community now and you give them checks and vouchers for 250,000, 300,000, up to 8 million. People are being rewarded. So now you're creating a class of people. There's people that you're being that you are suppressing in an oppressed situation, and there's the people that you want to lift out of that particular position where it comes to your kindsmen. So automatically you have to get some house slaves to say, well, look, we're working with the same government and there's no racism, there's no apartheid system, there's no segregation that's going on. But we see it, we identify it, we know it. That's why in 2012 elections, you paid considerable amount of money so you can have an equal vote because you already know that you were losing your constituency and you lost. That's why you had what you call a a minority government with Donald Ramatar. And you did the same thing in 2015. And you lost the elections completely because you knew that we would never vote for you. We have already seen how oppressed you have put the Guyanese population into. Then when you came to power, hold on. Yes. Then when you were installed in 2020, we knew what you would have been doing or what you wanted to do. So you came with all your arrogance. You laid off over 4,000 people. Public servant, you put them out of bread, you put them on the breadline. And because you put them on the breadline now, after the breadline, then you invite them back to the 20 and 40 and 10 and 20, $25,000 paycheck. Now you're handing money out to them because they're jobless. They don't have any jobs because you've taken them out of the same thing that they have provided for their family so they don't have to depend upon you. So while it's depending on you now for handouts, tell them, well, look, in order for you to get part of this handouts, you got to shake your head to the People's Progressive Terrorist Party. You're now terrorizing them. You're suppressing them from arising out of the oppression that you've placed them in 23 years. Now you're back by an installation of a foreign power. You're suppressing them even more by telling them, well, look, you're out of a job. They ain't got no way better for you. So the better thing for you is to come over to the PPTP. If you can't come over, well, then you'll be terrorized. And then you put your house slaves out there to treat us like bulldogs. They're the pit bulls and we're the bulldogs, and they're doing all sorts of things to the African or black community. I like to say Aboriginal. So I'm going to say the word. You're putting your house slaves out there to do damage to the Aboriginal community. And by you have a platform that you can use, that you're taking advantage of. Because I know by time, sometime along the line this evening, that you'll take my video down again like the last time you did. But it's okay. I am a fighter. I'm a revolutionist. And you don't like when these points are being brought up because you say we're peddling dissemination in the public forum. No, we're saying the things that you're doing to my brothers and sisters. You're destroying them. You're tearing away at their social fabric. That's the only thing they have left to hold on to. And even to that, you're tearing away at it. You're destroying their values. Now you see what is going on. The same thing that I've been talking about over and over and over all the time for the past 3 years. Now it's coming to pass. It is coming to pass. Everything that I've said and I've sat on this show and I've talked about over and over and over again is coming to pass. Fighting for your freedom is something that any Aboriginal man like me who's tired of this senseless suppression to keep us oppressed will rise up. It's like putting a cat in a room and it has no windows and it only has a door. And he has to get past you to get through that door. And you're twice his size in height and in width. And all he has to do is to wake that venom of death and destruction. So it's either he get killed or you get killed. That's what happens when you put a cat in a room and he has no source of escape. You see what's happened? He stands on all four paws and his fur his fur decides to defy gravity. It now becomes prostrated, up and out. He's trying to tell you, look, this is it. It's either me or it's either you. That is what will happen. That's why people like me arise to the occasion, because we're tired. We are. I'll be honest with you. I was tired since way back then. When Mr. Granger came to power as president, I was very much elated. I was happy. I mean, I didn't get anything from them. I didn't get a job. I wasn't employed. My companies didn't, or my businesses didn't get any contracts. But I was pleased because there was peace and tranquility among the population. I was pleased because I could breathe. I was pleased because I arose out of a position of oppression. I was never oppressed during his 5 years. Physically, mentally, and emotionally, I was free. There was no sign to suppress me to a position where I'm already at. You are now installed. And right away, you feel the levels of oppression back again. For the past 23 years, that's why I rise to the occasion. Because I said to myself, this is it. Finally, I cannot sit and take this anymore. So we know that you're afraid because we know that you cannot hold. You're saying that the Guyanese public voted you and put you back into power. And we know that you don't even want to hold a simple local government elections. A simple local government elections when the law says each candidate makes sure that the list of voters from their constituency, that means their area, are being rectified. And it's the same type of people are coming to vote because they would have already noted that. Even to that lawful aspect you don't want to put into place, you have your chief elections officer who wants to talk about giving 14 days to do that. Can you imagine that? 14 days to verify every voter in their constituency is there and can be and would be allowed to vote. To do that, it becomes a problem. We know, we know that there's roughly 450,000 persons on the list of electors, on the registered list. We know that. And we know that majority of those persons lives in three regions. And all three regions are which are predominantly run and owned, well, predominantly successfully has voters representation that has won those regions are from the APNU, AFC, or PNC, however you want to put it. Regions 4, Regions 10, and Region 7. You win those three regions, you win the elections. All the rest of regions, even if you add them up, surpass. They still cannot surpass roughly 287,000. The Essequibo Islands, especially the main ones, Hog Island, Wakenham, I think the other one is, I'm trying to remember the other one. But most of all those regions are vacant, all those islands are vacant. There's no people living on them. People are already migrating. We know parts of Essequibo is already migrated. We know parts of Region 6 and Region 5 have already. They got so many empty houses when you're going up to way up to Skeldon. There's no people living there because the constituencies that you once held, predominantly held, is not there anymore. So there's no challenge. You cannot win any election. You can't even rig it. You now have to seek the international community to place you there via way of installation. Even if you want to hold an election based upon credibility like you did the last time, that you said it was somewhat credible, and that's how come you were elected by the international community. It says credible election and the constitution says valid votes. Even if you want to shy away from valid votes and you want to hold elections based upon credibility, you still cannot win it. So when people go, you got people here, you know what's the amazing thing? Y'all got some people like myself, the melanated Aboriginal Guyanese, like myself, going around the place talking some wash full of nonsense to some people, and they can't back it up. There's no edification. There's no, how should I put it over? There's no statistics. There's no statistic that they can find credible to give you an explanation of the stupidness that comes out of their mouths. But all they know that they're representing the People's Progressive Terrorist Party and they have a propaganda to share. And with this propaganda, have a few $1,000s. I believe you had a wake-up call for the Christmas season that gone. The business community extended to you, well, look, you pay out all this money, Who you get back paying, get retroactive, get 1 month, you pay all this money out. And people in come and shop at these stores is what going on. The people conserved their money. Guyanese are now becoming conservatives because they realize that you do not have their interest at heart. They realize that you're being bamboozling them. They realize that your intention is to put them more in oppression by suppressing them. They realize that you want to murder them out like the last time. The 10 years of tyranny, mayhem, and terror and murder within the streets, in the streets of Georgetown from 2000 and 2010. They knew that. They never forget that. I thought they forgot it, but maybe they're remembering it, or maybe because I'm constantly speaking about it. They have realized that. They know that upon your dictatorship is the precipice of mayhem and your apartheid system. They know that. Well, maybe this is the way for them to speak out, which I'm very happy about it, if so be the case. So we want to talk about the fight for equality. Excuse me. Equal rights. I talk to some of their East Indian brothers who wants to call themselves East Indians. I was speaking to a couple of them the other day, and I said, whether or not you don't like the point that I'm highlighting, the People's Progressive Party is a racist government. It's a regime. It's a regime that practices terror upon its people. Some of them don't like it, but I have to highlight it. These are the facts. And I told them, and they asked me, okay, what else I want? I said, equality. When you get a contract, I get a contract. If 10 of y'all get a contract, 12 of me can get one because y'all been getting all these years. It's time we should get at least 2 or 3 more extra so we can come on par. So we can't look at each other in a degrading manner, or there's no revolution. But maybe they don't want that because they don't want us to rise to the occasion like how they have risen to. They don't like it. That means they prefer us to be in a position in which the PPP has predominantly Afro and Black Guyanese or Aboriginal Guyanese. They prefer that. They know, they know the rot of the PPP. Because as soon as they came into power, they have left Guyana in droves. Guyana got mass migration. It was so terrible in the first 2 years of this terrorist government. The United States Embassy, hey, say, look, we got closed off the visitors visa section to all Guyanese because y'all left in and ain't coming back. A whole bunch of y'all done left already, near 10,000. Can't find y'all. We can find y'all, but y'all ain't coming back. Them ain't coming back at all. They're depending upon the Spanish and creating an ID card system for them, creating legalization for them to legalize to become Guyanese citizens. But you know what the Spanish are doing? As soon as the Spanish becomes Guyanese, they line up at the US Embassy for a visa. And you know what happens? They're gone. They ain't even staying. They're trying to block the Haitians from coming, the poor Haitians. They didn't want to come and live in Guyana. They did prefer when they come Guyana, pass through Guyana, go to Suriname, where their family is in predominantly. That's what they were trying to do. Then up comes all the craziness because they don't know where to turn to now. The people who they depended upon are not there. So they're trying to create strategies now to show that Guyana is a destabilized country. It is already destabilized. It's an apartheid state. It's a pariah or a pariah government, which governs by a dictatorship. We got a 5-year-old child running around the place talking about who's that talking there? Who's this stupid man? You can imagine he's a head of state. Well, I can't blame him. He's a child. So child does childish things. Like it says in the scripture, when I was a child, I think as a child, I walked and talked as a child. But they haven't become a man as yet. These are the things that are going on presently. And another dangerous practice that they're doing is unaccountability for public funds that are being spent. Taxpayers' money. No, you can't question any government that goes into power because they have created a way in Parliament that they don't have to come to the Public Accounts Committee to sit down to answer to anything. Because once they come, the committee can't function. That now is the law. The PPP passed that in Parliament. To the Public Accounts Committee, the PAC, PAC, it makes sense. Now they're more annoyed because they see their own people like their kind, the East Indians, are now speaking out. And those are the East Indians that doesn't really like them. So they know them good. So they're going to pressure them. Like how they're trying to pressure the mayor back. I will have to do some editing there when I'm finished. Sorry for the break in transmission. I think it's the internet as usual. So as I continue the conversation, think about it. Let's use common sense. Gaisuku, through the government of Guyana, borrowed 9 million US dollars from the Bank of Jamaica. That's during the Jack Deal's government. Let's use the government of Guyana really, because they borrowed the money. You know they haven't begun to pay back that money yet. 100 million US is 20.7 billion Guyana dollars. You're sharing out contracts in surpass of 600 billion Guyana dollars, and you can't pay back Bank of Jamaica's yet. It's ironic. And you want to come down on the mayor of Georgetown with accountability of monies when you can't give an accountability, you can't even give, my gosh, you the Public Accounts Committee can't start giving a full account of the 600 billion that was spent. The Auditor General office had to come out and tell you that one man owes you 1.9 billion and still write a check. They give him a roughly $9 billion more. $9 billion more. You still write a check to give him $9 billion more. And he still owe you 1.9 billion in drugs. Guyana Pharmaceutical Corporation is owned by your friend that you sold that company to, that owns Stabrook News. It's your friend. Or the Ramroop group of companies or whatever you want to call it. You're talking about accountability? You gotta be kidding me, bro. But who's best to do business? You agree to a 40-year monopoly, tax-free monopoly to ExxonMobil. You even put more danger to the contract that we was already in. I wonder when Guyanese gonna start paying the 9.5 billion US dollars that we have to pay them, because that was the receipt they gave to us. Or nobody talking about, we suddenly forgot that part. Nobody talking about it. We suddenly forget or forgot that part. We've forgotten that part. Nobody's mentioning a thing. You know, it's amazing. It's amazing on the kind of nonsense that we have to live through. Seriously. It's amazing. Terrifying and amazing. Bare stupidness. Colossal stupidness to the highest. I want to think sometimes that we are in such a position that we look for leadership to a point where sometimes our own leaders neglect us. And the supporters of the PPP are so sensible. They're so sensible that when election done and gone, you see what they do? They pack up their bags and run out this country. They didn't even look back. They pack their bags up Michael Jackson, that's what they did. They look back. They have never stopped 1 minute to look back after 2020. So really wanted to know if they stop it with all the oil money that's going on in oil money that they're talking about in the billions of dollars of chain away in Guyana. Them people ain't coming back to this country for nothing. They prefer stay in the US beside it there. With the place so cold that they can freeze overnight and stay and pass themselves through that stagnant freezing cold. They prefer die over there than come back to Guyana. They ain't taking the chance, they ain't swallowing the bait. The fight for the poor. That was the last topic that I've chosen to speak on. The fight for the poor. Poverty or poor is a state of mind. We got to, and when I say we, my Aboriginal brothers and sisters, we have to come out of this realm of poverty. It's an energy that we put ourselves in. Everything is an energy on earth that we live in is an energy and a vibration. Every single thing is about an energy. We got to take ourselves out of this class of energy that's based upon poverty. Because we're not poor, you know. Here, why we're not poor. Let me show you why we're not poor. You want to see where the money is? Let me show you a simple example. You could never go into an Indian village, predominantly East Indians living there, and see 5 or 7 Chinese supermarkets on one street. You will never go and see them. If you see one, you see plenty. You could never go into an Indian village and see 3 or 4 Chinese restaurants there. If you see one, you see plenty. And the one got for there real long. Because people got to know it. People got to know it before they go there and sit down and buy the food, or they go there and sit down and drink the rum or drink the beers. They got to know the Chinese man in the family first. Because nobody go in there and buy nothing. You could never go in to an Indian village. Don't let's put churches. We can put mandirs. See 5 or 6 mandirs in that village. Not on one street, in that village. See one mandir, one mosque. You go into an Aboriginal village. I can stop using black. Go into an Aboriginal village. You got people looking like me living there. You can see 7 Chinese supermarkets on one street. You can hear about 6 or 5 Chinese restaurants in the same village. And you have about 15 Christian churches in that village. Prospering too. Making money. So tell me, does poverty exist? If people can go in there and thrive off of your own strength and benefit, how can you tell me that you're poor? You know what makes us poor? Because we don't support each other. That's what makes us poor. We don't support each other. We tear each other down instead of supporting each other. That's what makes us poor. That's how poverty exists. That's how poverty exists. And they like us, they like us existing in that manner because we tear each other down at the end of the day. We tear apart each other. We don't care. That's how we become poor. The day we stand up to support each other in unison, then there's no more poverty. Poverty is not about material things, it's the poor in mind. Because we become so ignorant and unedified, not uneducated, unedified. Because we don't know our own culture and because history tends to repeat itself among us, we become poor in mind. Our thinking is very poor. So we experience poverty physically and emotionally. And how do we experience poverty physically? Because in our houses, there are no more unity. Divorce percentage is high among our population. Our houses are being divided. There's no more male figure in the house. And our children grow up parentless. When I mean parentless, because a mother can't become a mother and a father can't become a father and a mother. You have to have the family in the home. You go into every other neighborhood, don't matter how uneducated they be, you see the richness in them. You check any other ethnic group, they ain't got to read and write, they ain't got to spell. All they got to know is just count money and understand how much money they got. But once it stays within the family as a unity, then you see the richness and the wealth. You think it's the material things? No. It is the way of life. It is their culture that extends that richness. It's not the material things. Poverty, poor, it's the way of the mind. It's how you think. And when you poor in thinking, then there's no support value. Every other ethnic group has a support value. They have a support base they go to. That is why they're so rich. Richness they depends upon their family upkeeping and outbringing. That is the wealth. We are seconded to the material things because we think that defines who we are. But look and see what happens when we become rich. Materially, we got the money, we got the cars, we got the house, but we have no family. We live a destructive life because we destroy not only ourselves but our surroundings. You check. All the Aboriginal people like myself got the money but don't have family. See what happens. They destroy themselves and the community around them because they become a big bad John. You can do whatever you want. Cost up this body, cost up the body. Nobody can do nothing. And the police can't come and arrest you because you know why? Big and the bad and they got it. Instead of him or her to use those same wealth construct to create values among himself and the community, we destroy. So how do we define what is poverty? How do we define what is poor? Ask yourself the question. Or since we got it, who giving you mad? You know how hard I work for this? It is our mindset. Other ethnic groups work hard so their offsprings can benefit. They know when they die, they can die comfortably because they have given unto their offsprings. We ain't getting nobody nothing. You know how hard I work for that? What hard you work for what? You came and meet what you work for. Just how you come and meet it, you will go and leave it. So, in my closing, this is my phrase: the wealth of a man is not what he builds, gains, or buy. The wealth of that individual is the ability to change lives positively so he can retain positive energy. This is Dr. Matthews-Bey saying thank you very much for being with me here this evening in this very pleasant and blessed day. Islam to you, my Moors, to who are looking. Peace be unto you, my brothers and sisters. This program comes to you with the kind compliments of Greenleaf Distributors, Event Management Services, and Black Love. It is time we support our own people so we can create an economic base so it can give us strength and comprehension that we can live now side by side of anyone else without them seeing us as a destructive people and an ethnic group. Once again, this is Dr. Matthews-Bey saying, take care, stay safe, be careful, sanitize yourself, wear a mask. Don't forget the little ones you take into public places. Good night. Cheerios for now.